back to the very beginning. Where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about family, home, school, that sort of thing.
Okay, so grew up in a small village in Hampshire called Nice. Just the other side of Alton. Went to school called Ditcham Park, where I got all my GCSEs, God knows how, because I was always that kid that, I was ADHD, couldn't sit still, a little bit of a disruptive troublemaker, but I'm pretty sure it's down to my mum, who pretty much grounded me for the last 2 months before my exams, to make sure to get me through and help sort of home tutor me. Lived in Folding till I was about 20. Unfortunately, I had a family tragedy when my brother got killed in a car accident, so we moved away to Farnham, and kind of been around that kind of local area ever since. Done bits of travelling here and there, did a little brief stint in London, and but mainly ran around the kind of the Farnham, Surrey area, which is almost where I'm located now, in between Farnham and Guildford.
And in terms of a little bit of an introduction about why we're here, what we're going to be doing, Lith-Tech has been around for how many years now?
8.5, nearly 9 in about September.
And so you've gone from being a student to the age of 20. You had a couple of businesses before. Tell us a little bit about the growth from not just from a business perspective into where Lith-Tech is and how you've hit Lith-Tech, but also from you've already said an ADHD background and obviously a turbulent time with your brother and all this sorts of stuff. How did that affect business life? Because those things that go on in your life, and I'm exactly the same. I found it really hard at school, and I also find it really hard to work for people. Clients is different to working for someone, because I know that I've got a relationship with a client, much like you have a relationship with clients, right? Whereas if you go in and you work for someone, I found it really difficult at times, not all the time. But I found there were times where I was like, oh my God, I'm finding this stressful.
I agree.
And then as you come out of school where it's this environment, and I did exactly the same thing. Tell us about the growth into the businesses and how those businesses came across.
My school and sort of education history, especially later on, is based around kind of PE, human body, sports science. I actually went into personal training when I was younger, so I got to learn a lot about the human body, how it works and how it doesn't work, all about disabilities. So I had a really strong background in that before I even started Lith-Tech, which really served me well. My early days, I was personal trainer for the Nuffield group, Nuffield Health, as everyone knows, and then realised there wasn't huge amounts of money in that, so I went slowly into sales, which, like you touched on, I've always been a self-starter. I've always backed myself. I've always had that get up and go attitude, so I've always can make something happen out of nothing. So it was a natural progression for me to go from sales into businesses.
It's a hustle, isn't it?
It's a hustle, and you have to back yourself 100%, because it's true that 9 out of 10 people fail, and you have to make sure that I drive and thrive off the being scared of failure, and it's a real driving force for me, just making it work. Because of my ADHD background, I was hyperactive at school. I was actually one of the first people ever to be introduced to the Complementary Medicine Centre in Southampton when it first opened, back when I was about 11 or 12, and I was diagnosed with, E numbers, colourings, preservatives. I couldn't have anything. Whenever I used to go around people's houses when I was younger, I used to just bounce off walls because I'd have all their chocolate and my mum wouldn't let me have it at home. So I did all of that, and then started my first proper business when I was 24. So I went out travelling to Australia, like you do. I'd done a bit of travelling in the past before that, just stints to Thailand and Southeast Asia and things. But when I got to Sydney, I got massively immersed in the nightclub and bar and festival industry, and worked for one of the biggest promotions companies in Sydney at the time. Basically, long story short, worked for them for about 6 months, and realised I was doing the job for them most of the time, and I started a rival company called KX Promotion, which is short for King's Cross. So if anyone's been to Sydney, they know it's an area in Sydney which is known for its kind of bar, nightclub and pub scene and restaurants. Ran KX Promotion out there for sort of 18 months. I overstayed my visa. I wasn't allowed back for 3 years, but it didn't really matter as it was so far away. And then basically when I got back, I realised that I just wasn't meant to work for people. I could do it myself. My parents always, my mum's a teacher. My dad's did incredibly well in business, in the IT industry. They both had very mainstream jobs. I was always the other way. They always wanted to push me down the mainstream route, and I was just like always fighting it. And I think me coming back from Australia, proving that I'd done it, and I'd done it to such a level, I got to meet some really good celebrities, host some amazing festivals, which are known all across the world.
Do you find, sorry, I've interjected you a little bit, but I don't want to let go of the pull from mum and dad to do mainstream.
Yeah, I think it's quite a common thing back in the day as well, because they don't want you to fail, and they want you to do, in their opinion, what's easy, but within your skill set. The problem is what's easy doesn't get you far. Like the only, what gets you far is pushing boundaries, it's taking risks. Yeah. If you don't risk it, you risk everything. In the words of Rob Moore. Which is important, and I've always backed myself, like I said, 100%. So I wasn't afraid to take the risk, because worst case scenario, he's going to fail, and failure is not a bad thing. No. I know it's seen in England as it is. Like you go to America, failure is a good thing. You've got to fail at least 3 times before you make it in America. Here, it's considered a bad thing. So I was fully prepared always to fail, but at the same time, I was never going to let that happen in anything I've done.
How did you find? So I'm going to I know that you had the gym, you had the gym business, you had the car business.
Yeah.
All 4 of the businesses that you've had, despite the background that you've had, have all involved either working with a client, selling a product, but the relationship between, and I'm referring to relationship as a PT, relationship with someone that's buying a high-end car that's it's a lot of money,
sure.
And the relationship between someone buying their first electric wheelchair after whether it be long-term or short-term illness or a short-term disability. All of those, despite the ADHD piece,
they all have a common denominator.
There's a common denominator
100%.
where there's and we spoke about it just before we hit record, where there's a trust element to it.
Absolutely, and finding out as much as you can about your client, what they want, and then matching them with your product. Then that's basically what makes a good salesman or a good service person, is basically understanding your customer to the point where you can't really get it wrong if you have the products available to serve them with.
And I think the reason why I've brought it up is obviously now you've been established since, sorry, I've forgotten the date that we've already just
about
said.
2017.
So you're talking over 8 years now of consistent delivering a quality product to, what we're talking, thousands of customers?
We're over 5,000 customers now.
And where did Lith-Tech come from? Was it just you saw a niche in the market?
It was a bit of a mixture. Like the real truth is that at the time I was getting out, I wanted to get out of the car industry. I love cars still, as everyone knows about me. But you do rub shoulders with a lot of crooked people. You don't know where you're at within the industry. A lot of times the buying process can be quite hard, and not, people not stitching you up just to get rid of stuff. So as I was and I was phasing out that business and selling all the cars, one of my friends actually, he had a strong electric bike company. At the time, it was one of the best in the UK, if not the best and most recognisable. So I basically analysed why his electric bike company was doing so well. And I was like, everyone wants to be more on the go, more portable. Everything was it's when everything's going electric. So what powers electric stuff? Lithium batteries. So I literally made kind of like a list of all the useful industries that use lithium battery products, and then looked at those. Is that market saturated? Like, what's the use case? Like, is it like an ongoing business? Will it always do well? What's the future need? Long story short, where does my background fit into these different markets? And it was the mobility industry that was so under-tapped in that young, vibrant market. Everything was NHS-y, it was clunky, it was heavy, it was old, it was unsexy. There was no young CEOs, everyone's in their 50s, 60s. And I was like, this is an area where I could really shake things up. So we started with a couple of products, and obviously I'd never had any idea in my wildest dreams it was going to turn into one of the biggest and most recognisable brands in the UK. And just grew it and grew it and grew it, and then we turned from just a wheelchair company to a specialist, and then to, we've got one of the biggest YouTube channels in the world now.
You now do a lot of, I hear you, I know you've got a consultation coming in at 11:30.
Yeah.
How big is and the big term is people buy from people.
Absolutely.
Right? how do you find the relationship with clients? And I'm not trying to goad you into saying something bad, by the way. I'm asking, I'm asking because I know that you deal with a lot of vulnerable people.
Yeah.
And I think there's from an experience, just knowing you for as long as I do, I know you care.
Absolutely.
And I think that there's a nice thing to talk about there, and and we will go back onto the success of the business.
Sure.
But I quite like the fact that you've been in this industry for 8 years. People keep coming back.
Yeah.
Tell me, well, that's probably a great way to start. How many people come back? How many people come back to you for their next chair?
So we've got loads of repeat customers now. I mean, I've got some customers that have had 4 chairs of us. I've got some customers that even actively own 3 chairs at once from us.
Really?
You know, from different use cases. They've got like one for they have 2 cars. One is kept in one car because they've got hoists and things like that. So it's just easier for them. And then they got an indoor chair.
Amazing.
So I've got one guy who's about to be on his 5th chair, a guy from Somerset. You know, and that 5 chairs in 8 years. You know, obviously we're doing something right. Yeah, but we've got loads of customers on their 2nd chairs now.
Amazing.
Absolutely loads. Because the thing with us is, if you can give someone a good product, understand them as a customer, show you care, give them everything they've asked for, then why would they not come back to you when they're ready for round 2? Give them good aftercare.
Yeah.
You know, why would you go anywhere else? It's like I'm a BMW fan. Like I like their products, I like their service. I've got one guy, Jack, who I go to at BMW in Farnham, and every single time I'm ready for a new car, I go to him.
You're going to him.
Yeah, because he gives me good service. I like their products. You know, I get preferential cars, the new ones that come in because I bought so many now.
Yeah.
You know, it's the whole value add service.
Okay, I don't want you to list through these because I'm gonna list them.
Yeah.
2020, you were well established as one of the most well-known folding electric wheelchair brands in the UK.
Yeah.
2021 became 7-figure.
Yeah.
And you were a finalist in the Great British Small Business of the Year Awards.
Yeah.
2023 awarded e-mobility CEO of the Year by SME Business News and Magazine.
Yep.
2024 I was awarded Global Mobility CEO of the Year by CEO Monthly.
Yep.
5,000 customers, stock between 450 and 500 chairs, thousands of spare parts in the building, and I'm sat in your building now, and we can't do a span. We probably should. We will do a run around.
Yeah, we can do a brief run.
At this point in the video, we'll do a really nice bit of B-roll to show the size and scale of the business.
Yeah, sure.
Let's take, when you started it, tell us about.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were a one-man band, right?
Yeah, I started from home.
And in a shed of some sort? Like, how did it start?
Yeah, so I self-storage. So I understand how business worked, and actually when I set up Lith-Tech, I was paying myself peanuts, about 700 quid a month.
Right.
And I'd actually worked for Lith-Tech from about 9 to 5, and then I worked for an events company till 3 a.m. in the morning for the first year of Lith-Tech's journey. All my products were kept in self-storage, and I actually did the demos from home.
Yeah.
I was in a nice 2-bedroom flat in a gated community in Farnham. And luckily, people just put their trust in me because it wasn't a particularly professional environment. No. But I was so aware.
That to here, where you've got a warehouse.
Yeah, I know, 4,000 square foot now. You know, and when taking on more branches as we speak. But it was strange. But I understood that the way to make Lith-Tech grow is to keep reinvesting the money into the business without having fancy, warehousing, loads of staff. Like, it was just to offer a good product, make sure it worked, offer good demonstrations. And then let it grow organically. But I started from my home with self-storage, and then went to a 1,000 square foot unit to straight up to this, and then took on 2 other 500 square foot units, and then went straight to a 4,000 square foot unit. And now we're branching out into 6 other branches in the next 6 months.
I want to talk about the future plans at the end.
Yeah,
because I feel like that is what you're about to lead on to is amazing for a small business.
Big. Yeah.
Don't spoil it. Okay, so let's talk about why they should use you over other suppliers.
Okay.
And what I don't want to do is do like a piece on the other suppliers, more the reason why you are in and above them.
Sure.
Give us like your list, like what you see when you're on the phone to someone. And I know you do a lot of telephone consultations because you've got people all over the country, right?
Yeah.
Talk me through what you talk through with your customers as this is why you should be coming. Either come down to us, or we'll come and give we'll deliver to you, whatever the service is. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So our general split is about 20% our in-house demos, where the sales come from, 80% straight over the phone. So it's our job to fill the customer with as much trust in us as a company, but on our products. Most of them have already seen our YouTube channel, so they know a bit about us, or they've glanced at the website. But where we differ is the fact that we are the only specialist in the UK. Yeah. We've been doing this 8 years. We started with the third people in the whole of the UK to ever even sell electric folding wheelchairs. I've made it my life's mission to understand all about people's disabilities, about the wheelchair market, all the factories from overseas. I've been out to all the factories overseas. So my knowledge is so much above the average person in this industry. It's almost, when you have that knowledge and you have that amount of array of products, like we've got 14 different products. So an average mobility shop will only have 1 or 2 chairs, which means that anyone that comes through that door, they can only ever sell you 1 or 2 chairs, whether they're fat, they're thin, they're tall, they're small, they've got ME, or they've got MS. That's all they can offer. Whereas any single person now that calls us with any disability, we can offer them the right chair for their use case, their disability, their comfort, and also then do add-ons to even make it more accessible for them. So that's what makes us so different, is that we have the knowledge, but we have the products, and we have over 1,000 spare parts. Like we have the after sale. We can give them the trust to serve them without them ever even seeing the chair. So our qualification process will be a set load of questions, basically ask them about their lifestyle, their support network, which is important, who they have around them, how accessible their home is, their height and their weight, how they want to use the chair. And from all of those different questions, which is about 15 in total, we can basically profile our customer to a point where we can literally sell to them perfectly. And if by the end we haven't done our job enough, then it is what it is. Like some people are old school, they like to see stuff physically, but that's also why we've got the videos. So we also then, when we do the little quote afterwards, we always put the video to link to the chair, because a picture tells 1,000 words or something like that. So the power of video in our industry, and from me, and the growth of Lith-Tech has been huge. Video has probably been our number one advocate, I would say. And by the end, most people literally do purchase. It's very, very rare that someone calls up and doesn't buy a chair, to be honest.
I imagine you've had some ridiculous horror stories, and again, I don't want I don't want this video to be
I won't get personal.
I don't think it's personal. I think it's more I don't want it to be a blast on anyone else, but more a really nice expose of how good the service is with you guys. Sure. And I don't want you to go into the horror stories, but what I do want to know is...
I'll just say that, the reason why people come to us and what we can offer is it's next day delivery. It's the right chair choice, right add-ons, 24/7 aftercare. I answer emails out of work. I answer them at the weekend sometimes. If someone's got any issues, sometimes, and I don't have to do this, I'll call, like there's someone, they're stranded, like maybe a lead's come out of their wheelchair, which they haven't realised. They say, I'm stuck in the supermarket. I'll call that customer because I care, and I will literally be like, okay, then I'll run through a whole sequence of things, and 9 times out of 10, the lead's just got loose where they haven't done any maintenance or it's tightened up. But then when they need a spare part, they talk to a physical human who knows their products. You go to a local mobility shop, they don't even know how to fold their own chairs. They don't know their competition. They don't understand. They don't know what lithium batteries are airline friendly and not. We know everything because we're a specialist. And if we don't, we look stupid. But that's the reason why people come to us. It's like, if you're a keen mountain biker, you don't just buy a mountain bike off Amazon. You would go to a specialist mountain bike shop. If you have a specialist illness, you'd go to a specialist chiropractor or a specialist, physio or surgeon, because you're so concerned that you want the best. So that's the reason, really, and that's why everyone comes to us. It's that trust, knowing that we're going to pretty much nail it for them.
I want to talk about
and horror stories. So when I do hear about stuff from other companies, like if you have an issue, our mission statement is basically we will fix you in 1 to 4 days. 4 is an absolute. Usually it's 1 to 3. I've had customers that have waited 3 months to be rectified by their companies because they haven't held any spare parts. They've had to order them from China, and then also they've not even done it by air. They've done it by sea from China because they wanted to save their costs, which is just inhumane.
And in an industry that you're in, you're right. Inhumane is probably the only word to really to call it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad.
There's not a nice way to put it.
There's a lot of bad actors in this industry. There's a lot of what's the word? Taking advantage of the vulnerable. I think a lot of poor products for overinflated prices. Because the problem is what people they all look like wheelchairs, but it's differentiating the difference between the difference in the price and components, the quality.
You spend a lot of time on the education piece, like
massively,
and that's the big piece, and the big reason why your videos have been so successful, right? Is because you do the education.
Yeah,
piece.
no one else does education like in the whole world, let alone the UK, and we are the only educational electric folding wheelchair YouTube channel. You know, because people need to know the truth. People need to know we don't just talk about our product. We talk about the industry. We talk about disabilities. We talk about getting yourself the right fitting, not making mistakes, because 99% of people that have ever bought a mobility product, their first time mobility piece is 100% wrong.
Do you know what I like about, and I've sat in here before waiting, because obviously we were going to have a meeting, and you'd have a client in here. Your direct, maybe direct's the wrong word, because direct can be
I am pretty
bad,
direct,
but it's more a,
I'm a straight talker.
You're a straight talker, you're very assured in you know what you're talking about, and they need to listen to you because of you know you've been in this industry for so long.
The biggest thing I'll say, sorry to interrupt, but like what they think they want is not what they need. And like customers, and I'm not saying the customer is wrong, but if customers would only listen to us, they would save them from making so many mistakes, because once you actually talk them through everything, they're like, God, that makes sense. But what in their head, what they think they need is never actually what they want. Like I'd say 7 out of every 10 orders that are placed on our website that haven't called us in advance, we either have to change the chair choice or make some sort of adaptation because they've not really thought it through properly.
Or they just don't have that knowledge.
Well, that's what it is. It's the fact they haven't got knowledge. But this is why I'm always like, please just call us. We're here to help. That's the whole point of a specialist. Stop trying to work it out by yourself. Call us and we'll do it all for you.
I feel like the only reason they wouldn't do that is because they don't know that there is a specialist in place. And that's not your fault. That's probably an industry thing, right? That's an industry thing where, you know, let's say, for example, I don't know, I'm going to find it really hard to find an example, but you know, there isn't a clear route to the information other than someone having the savviness to go and Google it or whatever.
Or look through the website or look on YouTube. If they don't, they just go to your website because it comes up with loads of other websites on Google. I mean, our tagline is UK specialist, but you know, some people might miss that, and to a lot of people, we might just be another company that sells wheelchairs. You know, we're just a number, which we're not really.
I think this is quite a good way to expose it, though. Let's talk about the growth, and let's talk about the new branches, how it's going to work, how you're going to manage it. I want to, and again, I don't want, as much as this piece is all about Lith-Tech, and Lith-Tech is the product. You are the product. So how are you going to make that work? Tell us.
Okay, so I've now decided it's time in my life. Like, investments are flat. Life is quite flat. You know. Governments aren't great right now, and the only thing really that I can bet on is myself. So I'm literally going all in on me, all in on the company, which essentially is me. So we're going big, we're going home now. So originally I was thinking, do we go down the franchise route? But I realised that all the amount of training that I'd have to do wouldn't really be worth it. I was just like, well, if I've got the capital, because we're good at saving, we've always done that. We've always invested to grow in the business, and I'm like, why don't I just start the business myself? So the new branches myself. So we've got 6. So we're gonna have 6 branches in total within the next 6 months. We've got our head office is always going to be here in Surrey or around Surrey Hampshire border. We're gonna have a Dorset branch. We're gonna have a Devon branch. We've got an Ashford Kent branch. We've got a Cambridge and a Bristol. So it pretty much covers everywhere in the south of the UK. And basically, on each of those different locations, you only ever have to travel a maximum an hour and a half to reach one of our sites.
Amazing.
Which means we can then cater for so many more people that maybe don't want to buy over the phone without testing the product first. And we're also going to have a field engineer out on the road. So we're going to get them a van. They'll bounce between the new sites and also do home visits. And we're going to go big on the service, so we can literally offer like instant service. So anything in the future that goes wrong and you're in the south, you'll be now fixed within 24 hours, which no one can say they can do in this whole industry. Like, we want to be the best. We want to have the best stuff, the best aftercare. We want to give you no other reason to come to us. Like, I want to go down in history as being the UK's best electric folding wheelchair company, and I'm not even joking.
Yeah, fair. No, that's amazing. Okay, so.
And then we'll tackle the north. Simple.
And then the world.
Yeah, like, you know what? I mean, I'll probably keep it UK based, but and Scotland, UK, maybe.
Leaning on the business piece now.
Yeah.
And this is probably part of it needs to come in. Like, this part of the video will probably have to come back to the middle.
Yeah.
the reason why I'm saying it is because I'm in a similar stage of business growth, right? I'm going to ruin your editing, sorry. To normally grow a business, you form partnerships.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of, I know you've talked about franchisee and stuff like that, have you ever thought about bringing in another piece of investment to grow the business to aid that? Is that something that you've touched on?
We thought about wholesale. The problem, I mean, I don't need outside investment. That's never been an issue. I've got my own money and my own investments, and if I want, I could put in more of my own capital. The minute you go to investments, you're relying on someone else. I'd rather rely fully on myself. We've thought about wholesaling, but the problem is if you give our products to someone that doesn't understand the industry, doesn't know what they're talking about, all we're actually doing is just giving Lith-Tech a service.
Diluting it, you're going to diluting it.
We are, and we lose the whole point why people come to us. We lose that special touch, we lose the aftercare, we lose the right chair choice to the customer. So if I can just replicate what I've done here so successfully over multiple branches and keep expanding that way organically, then that's by far the best way to do it. Like we remain the name, we remain in control, we give the same customer service, and it's just done the Lith-Tech way, which in my opinion is the best way, the right business model for what the UK has to offer at the moment.
Okay.
In my sector, not for everyone, but in
let's do a fun exercise now.
Okay.
Again, forget video.
Sure.
You've got 30 seconds.
Right.
Elevator pitch.
Right.
And you have to pitch Lith-Tech to your customer.
Okay.
Go.
Okay, so we're the leading specialist. We've got the biggest array of any chairs of anyone in the UK. Not only that, but we've also got over 1,000 spare parts ready on next day delivery. With us, we call it the trust factor. We'll give you the trust to buy from us because we understand all the disabilities, we understand people's use cases. We've got over 5,000 customers UK-wide to prove it. And if listening to me is not enough, you can go look at our reviews. We've got the highest Trustpilot rating of any wheelchair company in the UK with nearly 1,000 5-star reviews. And so you can hear what our customers have to say, really. But yeah, there's a reason people come to us, and we'll do it. We'll methodically take you through the process, make you feel at ease. It's never pushy. We'll show you the quote in the video at the end, and it's up to you if you take our advice in the chair, and 9 times out of 10 people choose to join Lith-Tech.
Tell us about the rest of your day.
What, right now?
Right now.
Rest of my day, so we've got 2 demos in today. We do an 11:30 appointment and a 2:30 appointment every day. We've got countless emails. We get up to 50 emails in a day sometimes, lots of calls. So yeah, there'll be a mixture of sales, marketing, making up chairs. We've got 6 chairs to go out today.
Do you find from a staff training perspective that just getting them in and learning from you is the best way? So we train constantly within the role, but yeah, they're all trained, whether it's in mechanical sense, fixing the chairs, servicing, all from me. Luckily I'm very practical and hands-on as well. It's like I can build wheelchairs in my sleep. I have been able to for years. Amazing experiences.
So I know all about that side of things. I know the sales side, I know the warehousing side, and the marketing side. Like I've made it because I started by myself, and I was actually working by myself for a couple of years into owning Lith-Tech. So I had to be able to do everything. So everyone is taught the Lith-Tech way from me and from the ground up. And when we keep growing, more stuff, it's always going to be the same, because if I believe I'm doing something the right way, why wouldn't I, put that into my staff so they can do it the right way?
100%.
Yeah, so we're busy. We will only get busier.
That's good.
I don't know if I'm letting myself in for...
Have you enjoyed this experience?
It's a bit different. I haven't done an interview like this before, so it's or like a podcasty style. So it's been fun.
The more you do it, the more...
Like I'm so used to just talking to an iPhone on YouTube constantly.
I'm the opposite. I actually prefer this.
Yeah, because it's less, because I can talk for like 30 minutes without any prompts, but it's about wheelchairs mostly, but this is, you get a few prompts and it's more like a conversation, like you're down the pub having a beer.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Lovely.
Happy?
It's been a pleasure.
Nice.
Thank you.